Welcome to Power Your Profits podcast, your friendly guide in bringing your business revenue to the next level. Listen as host Susie Carder hears inspiring stories of success from her fellow entrepreneurs and transformational leaders. Prepare to make significant change to your strategies as they unravel the secrets of building multi-million-dollar businesses and the most effective tips on finance, marketing, and sales accountability. If you want to make your first step towards explosive business growth, this is the right podcast for you. Without further ado, here is your host, Susie.
Adam, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to have my clients meet you. What I love is you're my brother from another mother. Our journey is very similar, right? Helping businesses and entrepreneurs. Your expertise in one of your niches is the beauty industry, which you've done amazingly well. But before we go into that, I want you to tell your badass list, like, why should we listen to you, right? Because I think that's more important. Your bio is sexy and amazing. You've done some amazing things, but what's the juice? What's your genius that you want to share with us?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you very much for asking me to be on the show. I'm hugely appreciative of that. So thank you. I guess really my kind of zone of genius really was, I started out working in corporates, corporate hotels, spas, wellness, those kind of things. And I had an amazing life. I got to travel around the world, work with some amazing brands and stay in some hotels that I'd never be able to afford to stay in normally. But yeah, I sort of realized that what I'm really good at is taking complex sort of businessy problems. I say I like the stuff that other people hate about business. You know, most business owners start up and they're like, I want to deliver this thing. I want to help people. I want to create this product, but they don't like the businessy stuff. That's the stuff I like. And I realized this when I was working in corporates and sort of thought, well, I love helping bigger businesses because at the end of the day, they pay very well. But I thought what I'd really love to do is take this knowledge and expertise that I've learned from other people, worked with some amazing people, and bring that down to those that are starting out, the independents, the ones who probably need it more than these big companies. So that's really my zone of genius is taking complex business problems, looking at them, looking at the numbers, step by stepifying it, if that makes sense. I always talk about, you know, if have you ever played with Lego?
Yes.
Yeah. So you get a Lego model. So you get a lot of bits of, you know, plastic out of a bag and this picture on the front of a box, and left to your own devices, you'd never be able to get anywhere near the picture that's on there. But you get this incredible manual that has no words in it. And yet simply by putting one brick on top of another, you eventually end up with this thing that you were designing to create. And I think business can be like that. I think as long as you know the steps that you're doing for the level you're at, then you can actually do this. So that's really my zone of genius, is doing that. And nowadays I've kind of split that down into online courses. I have the Beauty Business podcast, which is a Apple iTunes top 10 podcast, which God, I never thought I would have, which is amazing. And yeah, so I'm helping people all over the world. I love that I now, you know, on any given day, I'll have a call with someone in Africa and New Zealand and Australia and America, and occasionally just down the road where I am in the UK. And I love that I get to help people, you know, grow in their business. Again, yeah, particularly in the beauty and the wellness industry, but all over the world.
Right. I love that. I tell you, you're brother from another mother, because we use that analogy all the time. The Legos, right? Is like, doesn't have to be hard. It has to be strategic, right?
Yes.
So one of the things you want to talk about is really, how do you price your stuff? And I think that in that industry, in every industry, it's probably one of our biggest challenges is we pull our pricing out of our butt, right? We're like, how much does Adam charge? How much does Susie charge? How much does Bob charge? How much does Stephanie charge? And the reality, that has nothing to do with how we charge, right? Because your business might be dysfunctional. I know mine's dysfunctional, but I am profitable, right? I think every business is dysfunctional. So how do you, in a way. How do you coach people in looking at how do you price your stuff?
Okay, so for me, there's only one way to price anything, especially to do with services, but only one way to price anything. It's called value-based pricing. Okay. And you can go into all the boring side of it if you want. But I always say to people, whenever I start talking to particularly beauty business owners, they always price in one of four ways. They either look at what someone's charging down the road and charge a little bit more or a little bit less. And interestingly, I get the same number of arguments for those who want to charge more or want to charge less. So I call that competitor-based pricing. Then you've got finger in the air pricing, which is basically just, I think I'll charge this. And then you've got what I like to call quote unquote kind of knowledge-based pricing, which is where they've gone, oh, well, I used to own a salon somewhere else and I charge this. And I was like, okay, well, where was that? Was that with the same clients, the same products? Was it the same time, with the same costs and all these kind of things? And none of them will get you the best money for delivering the treatment. The only one is value-based pricing. And it's kind of a combination of kind of the traditional way of working out your prices, which is obviously looking at your costs, all of your costs, people, not just the ones that you want to take a look at. So this is looking at your
and your paycheck, right? Because they always leave their paycheck out.
So there's three areas of cost that I always talk about. The first is your product cost. So what does it physically cost you to deliver that treatment or that product or that service? What costs are involved in delivering it? What are the costs that you have in just running your business? Okay. And the nice thing about the beauty industry is, you can pretty much boil most treatments down to an hourly price. And most treatments or services or whatever are kind of quarter of an hour, half an hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. So I very easily teach people to take your annual costs, boil them down to an hourly price for your overheads. So that way, you know exactly how much to factor into a hour-long treatment, for example. Then you've got your wage costs.
Are you doing that by dividing the hours, 2,086 hours in a year?
We actually do it a really simple way because I like to take as much of that. I love maths, but I like to take a lot of it out of the equation. So we literally take it down to, we divide it by 50 to get a weekly charge, given that you might actually want a couple of weeks off in a year. And then we divide it by the number of hours you want to work in a week. Again, there's two different ways to do that, because obviously if you're a small business, if you're just starting out, if you're kind of doing everything, particularly if you're a service-based business and part of what you do is actually doing the hands-on stuff, only include the hours that you're doing the hands-on stuff, because those are likely the hours you're only getting paid for. The other admin stuff, not getting directly paid for that. That'll pay off down the line, but you need to take those out of that equation to start with. So that's your second cost. Third cost is your wage costs. So if it's you, still factor in your wage costs. You've still got to pay yourself, you're not working for free. If you're paying someone else, then those are the wage costs. And in there, obviously include anything like commission, pension contributions, any other things you have to pay. It's not just the hourly rate, remember that. So again, kind of going back to the Lego stacking, I did a workshop the other day and I used kind of the big chunky Lego. It's called Duplo over here. I don't know if it's the same over there. And you stack the cost on top of each other, and that's where you've got to get to. So you've got to charge at least that much to even break even. Then on top of that, you've got your profit. You've got to have something on there as well. But then on top of that, you've got room for other things as well. And these are what I call your values. And essentially, these are the things that you offer over and above competition in your area. So, and this can be anything. I have some great examples of this, because it can be very difficult to figure these things out, because a lot of these are kind of very esoteric. But I have a great practical example of where a salon that I was working with, we worked out all their prices, and then they looked at the next nearest competition that their clients said they might go to. And we realized that, well, they don't have any parking. The nearest place to park for them was kind of a little bit of a walk up the high street, multi-story car park. Minimum charge was like £2.70, so like $4 or $5, something like that. And we were like, well, as my client had parking right outside for free. So we're like, well, you can at least charge $3 or $4 more, because otherwise they'd have to park up there. They'd have to pay that parking charge or get public transport or an Uber or whatever. So you can charge that much more, because that's an thing that you offer, not part of the treatment, not part of the service, but it's something that you offer that you can then charge a little bit more for. Another one that we had was, we interviewed some of their clients, and they said, one of the things we love about yours is you've got a really wide door and a really large waiting room, sitting area. And we found that they had a lot of new mums come in because they could bring the prams and they could easily get them in the door. And, it's some of these things that you end up not thinking is what you actually offer and deliver, but they're part of your value. And if you can charge for those and figure out what that's worth to your clients and add that on top as well, then you're really kind of aiming for maximization in every single treatment and service and product and offering that you deliver. So for me, it's value-based pricing all the way. And it's not something I invented, by the way. This is just something that I've adopted and kind of adapted for my particular industry. But yeah, there's some great books out there on it. So
I love it, and simplified it, right? To go, let's just make it simple.
Yeah.
I always tell my clients, it doesn't have to be hard. It just has to be strategic. Quit pulling stuff out of your butt, right? Because we just pull it out and go, I'm going to charge this. Yay. Okay. We don't know if we made any money.
And I'm the king of sort of going, oh, I know, here's a really simple idea over here. I know how I can make it really complicated accidentally and just kind of overcomplicate things and then go, actually, I don't need that.
Right. I think that's the beauty of coming from that industry myself, was just how do I simplify this conversation so my clients get it? But more importantly, how could I get it? Right. Because I was feeling like I was the ding dong in the room. I'm like, I'm not a CPA. I'm not an accountant. I need to understand this for me. And so that it can be fun, because it wasn't fun the way they were explaining it to me. It felt like work. They were like, make $100,000 a month. How? It's scary.
Yeah. And the second thing that comes from really working on your pricing, and this sounds like something huge, but you can genuinely do this in like a few hours if you just focus on it. But the second thing that comes from working this stuff out is absolute rock solid confidence in your pricing, which you'll never get from just going, oh, I'll charge a little bit more than so-and-so down the road. You know, if you've got confidence in your pricing, because you'll know, Susie, one of the biggest issues in our industry is discounting. Yes. You know, everyone goes, oh, I'm going to come up with this price, but then, oh, I want to get some customers, so I'll just discount it. Well, immediately there you're saying, oh, well, here's my price, but actually I can do it for a lot less. Yeah. That's the message you're sending out to your clients. So I find by doing that work with clients, sometimes we end up finding out that the pricing is pretty close to what they've actually got already, but we deliver the confidence in that pricing so that they know why they're charging it. They know they can back it up. So the next time someone comes in and says, oh, well, so-and-so down the road is cheaper, they have the confidence to go, oh yeah, well, that's fine. If you want to pay less, go and see them. But the reason it's more here is X, Y, Z. So yeah, the confidence that it gives in your pricing is almost as important as actually figuring it all out in the first place.
Well, and by comparing, because like all business owners, I did the same thing, and I realized I was losing $5 per service, which doesn't sound like a lot until you times that by 300 clients, and then you times that by 12 months a year. You know, you're losing $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year by $5.
Yep.
Right, and just not knowing. Like I didn't even know. Yeah. Like I had $1 million
remember that
losing money. Like
yeah. And that $5, that extra $5, that's all profit because it all goes on the top. So it's not, you know, that you don't lose bits of that. That's all cherry on the top stuff. So yeah, the getting your pricing right, there's absolutely the core, the fundamental thing, the number one thing that I do with nearly all my clients when they come to me is like, Rets, work on your pricing.
Right, the first
and
thing.
I've had pushback. You know, they've gone, oh no, I'm happy with that. I want to work on this over here. I was like, no, because if we get this right, everything else we do just works better. So yeah, pricing 100%.
Right, and what I love is the formula is in any industry. It's not just the beauty industry; it's in any industry.
No, not at all.
Really look at it. It's to go, because it is a best practice in all profitable businesses. It's like, let's use best practices to grow that business. So you also talk about getting stuff done, because I know our busyness as entrepreneurs gets in the way of our business. So let's talk about that, because you are crazy busy when I look at what you're up to and what you're doing in your podcast and your business and your coaching and your family and your kids and that cat.
I'm a cat, yeah. Yeah, no, getting stuff done is a huge thing. And I think this comes from my dad when I was younger. He was made redundant, sort of 40 plus, and he started a business teaching people how to prioritize their time, and he did a lot of research and stuff like that, and I think that kind of rubbed off, and I became a little bit fascinated by this process. And there's all these books out there on productivity, but all of them seem to be teaching you how to get more done. And I realized, you know, we can cram stuff into our days, and we can have tick lists and to-do lists and all sorts of stuff, but actually what's more important is figuring out just what are the most important things that we need to get done, and focusing on those. And there's kind of two things that I talk about here, and again, both of them are slightly stolen, but just reworked to make sense to people. And the first one is a notion by a writer called Stephen Covey, who most people will know for writing 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But in another one of his books, he talks about the notion of rocks. And he have you heard this? So he talks about a glass jar, and he basically says, you know, if everyone has different tasks, and your big tasks, the ones that are going to move the needle, these are your big rocks. Okay. And then you've got your smaller little projects. Those are your smaller rocks. And then you've got your day-to-day stuff, which is like the sand. Okay. And he said, most people want to get stuff ticked off their to-do list. So they put the sand in first, and that sits at the bottom of the jar. Then they'll be like, oh, well, I'll do the next tasks because they're kind of easy. I can get them done in a day or two. So they put the little rocks in. And then what happens is there's no room left for the big rocks. So you need to do it the other way around. You put the big rocks in first, get those planned in and get those worked on first, then the smaller rocks, and then the sand will just find its way out in between all those things. And even if there's not enough room for all those day-to-day stuff, the day-to-day bits, the sand, isn't going to be the thing that's going to move the needle, get you to where you want to be. So if it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. But I'd rather not get a day-to-day task done than one of my big goals for the year. So that's kind of one of the key concepts I work on. But then the other end of that is the simplifying the week to week. And that is having a really simple weekly process for yourself that starts at the beginning of the week and has a little process at the end of the week. And we have one, we call it weekly winnings. But it starts on a Friday, which always confuses people. But on a Friday, all you do is you look back at your biggest 3 things that you did that week, or what you're most proud of that week, or what you got done, or what was a win that week. And you write those things down. And then you look at coming up to the next week, what are the things that are going to move you towards those big rocks? So what 3 things are you going to do next week, no matter what? Obviously, in and amongst all the other things that you got to do as well. What 3 things are you going to get done to move you towards those rocks next week? That becomes your kind of overarching to-do list for the next week. And then you get to the Monday, so you have the weekend off, if you can. You get to the Monday, and then you go, right, let's look at those 3 things. What am I going to do today that's going to help me achieve one of those 3 things this week? And you simply do that each morning, and that way you're not overloading your to-do list. You're not trying to do 20 things a day. All you're trying to do is move yourself closer to those 3 things that you promised yourself. This does 2 things. One, it kind of makes sure that you're making progress each week. But when you get to the end of the week, you've got that really simple 1-page log of what you did that week. So you never get to the end of the week and you're never like, God, where did that week go? What did I do? What happened? You know, I know I was busy the whole time, but what the hell was I doing? You've actually got it written down somewhere and you can go, no, actually this week I did this, I did this, I did this. I nailed all my things and I even got this other thing done as well. So it's kind of both things, understanding the big picture in terms of the rocks, but also having a really straightforward, simple weekly process for yourself so that you know what you're doing and what you did.
Well, I love that because I always say if you focus on the big rocks, I use different language, but to use your language, if I focus on the big rocks, then I actually have more money to hire people to do the sand, right? And I have to check in with myself every day to go, this is not the highest income producing activity that I should be working on, right? So I'm constantly looking at, nope, this is somebody else's job. And if I'm focused on the rocks, and part of the rocks is sales, strategy, right? Working on the business, I can then have more money because I'm focused on those things to hire those other people to help me do that stuff that I really don't want to do, right? That's not fun for me. I think business should be fun. If it's not fun,
oh God, absolutely,
job, right?
I 100%, totally. Yeah, I so one of the other things I do is I head up an organisation called the UK Spa Association. So essentially, I'm responsible for all the spas in the UK, and you know, traditionally, because we work with a lot of hotels, a lot of 5-star hotels, which when you think of a lot of 5-star hotels, you think kind of 3-piece suits and very smart things. And I've tried to bring this ethos to the role of, you know, I think you can be very professional, but it doesn't have to be boring and stuffy. So, you know, I turn up to meetings and I don't turn up in t-shirt and board shorts, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, I don't think anyone's paying me for how I show up in terms of the clothes that I wear. They're paying me for my knowledge and my skills. Yeah, don't turn up scruffy, but I don't think you have to look a certain way. So from the way you look to the way you act to the language you use, I think you can be professional, but also have fun and be you while you're doing it.
Exactly. And to your niche, right? So I know
Completely.
that in that industry, it's a different dress code than in a corporate setting, right? There is a uniform in every industry, like make sure that you're following industry standards, whatever those are, that and work for you and work for your personality. I was trying so hard to be a man, right? When I first started speaking, because I want to be treated respectfully. I had really short hair and I always wore a suit. And I'm like, okay, that's not fun for me. It's not even me. And I go, oh, I'm girly. I want to wear pink lipstick, right? I want to wear fun blingy stuff. If you can't see and you're just listening to this, I'm wearing a lot of bling.
Yeah, I genuinely, I still to this day, I mean, I'm 43 now, but I put a suit on. I still feel like that kid who's borrowed his dad's suit to go to like the prom or something like that. And it all feels a bit awkward and weird. So yeah, so I had to go, funnily enough, I had to go to a award ceremony recently and I had to wear, you know, it was black tie. And I was like, God, I haven't worn a suit with a tie for, I don't know, like 10 years. It was a very strange experience for me, but occasionally it comes out. But yeah, there's I never quite got comfortable in those clothes. So yeah, if you see me speaking on stage now, more than likely shirt, no tie. But yeah, it's more about the knowledge and the words than it is about how
Exactly. Well, I think you've
feel.
earned it, right? We've earned it to that certain level. I keep thinking, can I go back to high heels every day if I have to go back into out speaking on stage? I'm like, I haven't worn those in a couple of years. So let's talk about, what does a business really need to succeed or to work? Right? What do you think are those fundamentals or those foundations?
It's a good question. It's a good question. I think so. One of the things that we did over lockdown was we revamped a lot of this training that we do, because we've always kind of realized this, but we kind of identified, certainly within the people that I work with, 3 very distinct levels of businesses that we can help in a slightly different way at each level. And there are different things you need to focus on depending on the level that you're at in your business. But they're all kind of, it's a weird thing to explain. They're all kind of the same things, but you just need to do different activities. So for me, the 3 things that you absolutely need to focus on all the time are, first of all, we've talked about price. Got to get your price right. Sales is the number one next important thing. And then it's marketing. And people always have an issue with me on this because they're like, no, surely marketing needs to come before sales. I'm like, no, you can get sales without doing the marketing. You've got to get those first few sales in place, and you can go out and speak to people and people who know them. You don't have to go out and spend loads of money on ads and marketing campaigns and sales funnels and all these different things. So get the sales first. Make sure there's a sales activity going on every day. Once you've got that dialed in, then the marketing comes in to just bring in the leads that can go through that sales process. But having said that, it's different at each level. So when you're starting out, you just want to make sure your price is right. You want to make sure you're doing things at a local level, speaking to people leveraging all your own networks and all that kind of thing, and some basic marketing stuff. So that doesn't mean going out and throwing money at Facebook ads or Google ads or all that kind of thing. You need to make sure that you've got the process in place so that when a few leads come in, they go through your sales process and they convert, and the rate that they convert at. Once you know that, then you can go to the next level, which is, okay, now we need maybe your review of prices, because maybe now you're delivering at a different scale. Then you actually go, right, now make sure the new prices work with our sales structure. Then you start throwing more at the marketing side of things, bringing in different channels, all those kind of things. But ultimately, they still go through that new sales process. And then again, when you go to scale, probably you've got teams of people doing this thing for you now, but you just it's the same 3 tasks, but just at a different level. And for me, those are the 3 things. No matter what business you're in, no matter what you do, it's got to be those 3 things in that order: price, sales, marketing. And if you've got those things nailed down, like you said, everyone's business is dysfunctional in some way. But if you've got those three things nailed, and you can do a heck of a lot wrong, as long as you got those
and
things
still
going
get it
on.
right. Well, here's the, I don't know, you said it fast, so I want to make sure people hear it, is every level we need to reevaluate your pricing, because your overhead is completely different than when you were a startup. I mean, people have been charging the same price for 20 years. I'm like, okay, you have 1 year of experience just repeating it 20 times. You do not have 20 years of experience, right? And they can't figure out why I'm not making more money or why I'm not growing. Hello, McFly. Right? We're not analyzing it. And I know that they're like, I don't want to poke a needle in your eye. Great, then hire Adam. Hire me. Hire someone that gets geeked out about that to give you the information. Because again, we're losing so much money because we're not getting the right information when you need it, right? That's just delicious.
100%.
Delicious.
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's talk about your philosophy and business fundamentals, right? Because you talked about, what we need to work, how to price our services, getting stuff done. Let's talk about business fundamentals and what are the key things that you think we need in place to grow a 7-figure, 8-figure business.
Ooh, that's a good question. It kind of comes down to the same things, but in terms of the sort of tools and things that you need in place, I'd say 100% you need, everyone says this, but you need a list. You've got to have a list in place, and it may fall out of fashion with a lot of people, but it's got to be email. Get yourself an email list in place. I don't really care what platform you use. They're all much of a muchness. I have a preference, but as long as you're capturing people email addresses. And I don't know if you agree with this or not, Susie, but social media is great. It's fast. It's fun. It's exciting. And email's been getting a bashing because you're like, oh, read rates are down and blah, blah, blah. But there is physically no way that you're going to get the same interaction level on social media that you can get still on email. Even if you're doing a bad job, you're probably getting a 20% read rate on your emails. There's no way you're getting that on social media.
Right.
So you've got to have that backup of the emails in place so you can contact people en masse, because that's something that you control. And a lot of people have said this as well. Social media can disappear overnight. They can change the rules on you. You have no control over it, all these things. At least with email, even if you're kind of properly old school and you occasionally just download it and keep it somewhere on a thumb drive or an external drive, you've got that information. You know, if you've got the permission to actually contact people, that is something you have. That's what you own. That's your asset. You know, you can always start up. I've often said, you know, if weirdly overnight aliens came down and stole your business, took all your equipment, took everything like that, but you were left, as long as you have your skills and your email list, you can start up the next day, pretty much, you know.
Right.
Based on that. So, you know, the fundamentals is got to have an email list in place and a way to contact your clients, your people, the people who are interested in you, en masse at the drop of a hat.
Well,
and then you've actually got to use it.
Social media is just fans, right? They're fans. They're not potential clients until they get on your list, right? So there's a different conversation you're having. Social is social, right? You're sharing business stuff, you're sharing social stuff. Email is business, right? Whatever your business is, whether it's a salon and spa, whether it's a coaching business, whether it's a construction business, it doesn't matter. They've raised their hand to say, I want to have some interaction with you, or they opt out. I don't care, opt out. I don't want to send an email to somebody that doesn't want my information. That's part 100%. Of business.
I love it now when people unsubscribe. It used to really freak me out. I'm like, oh God, what did I do wrong? Someone unsubscribed. Now I'm like, yes, that's another person that isn't right for me, that isn't going to buy, and now I don't have to pay for them on my email list because I pay by the number of people who are on there. So you've just saved me money. Thank you very much.
Exactly. Clean that list out, right? It doesn't matter.
Completely.
Again, I've worked with partners that they have hundreds of thousand people on their list, but they're not real people. They're not interested, right? They're falling on deaf ears. So the quality, I always tell my partners, look, I'm small and mighty. I have a really quality list. May not have hundreds and thousands, but I've got a quality list that take action, listen. My problem is when I refer someone, like if we did a mailing for you for your podcast or your book or your membership site, they'll be, do I hire Adam now? Do I hire Adam now? I'm like, I don't know. Like, yes, talk to him. Get on his list, see what he wants. I'm mailing because I like him. I like what he stands for, and there's value. And so that's an exciting list when they're just like, what do I do? What do I do? Do I need him now? Do I need him now? I'm like, well, I slowly roll. Because there are some people, yes, and then there's some people, no. So segmenting your list is really important as well.
Oh, God, 100%. Right? Yeah. And email the people who are interacting with you the most often, and clean it. Don't be afraid to get rid of people yourself, because there's so many things. I attended a workshop the other day, and it was all about email deliverability and the complexities of these filters that are out there that will watch your emails and how you send them and who opens them. And the fact is now, in a similar way to the algorithm that we've all heard about in terms of social, there are now that kind of filters in place for email. So if these filters start to see you sending out all these emails to this massive list of people, half of which never read it, never open it, never respond to it, that's going to kind of lower your, for want of a better word, email score. Yeah. So you actually want to be cleaning it off, because the more these systems see your emails arriving, people opening them, replying to them, clicking on things, that's going to help you actually reach more and more people. So yeah, you need to be wary of that. The next thing that I would say you've got to have, and again, it sounds really dull, but it's a CRM system or process, okay? So you got your email list. That's the people that you're messaging. You need to have, and it can be as simple as 4 columns on a Trello document or something like that, or a really simple process. But you've got to have some way of going, I had a conversation with this person about what I do. I need to make a note for myself because they didn't buy straight away, but they were interested. So I'm going to move them over into the next column of, let's say it's, interested people that I need to get back to. And then you just need to write a note to yourself saying, I'm going to check in with them in 2 weeks' time, or whatever it is, because your brain will never remember all the conversations you have, and you will lose potential clients because of it. I made this mistake for ages. I thought, I'm a very personal person. I send out emails, I talk online, and I do a lot of videos on social. If someone wants to speak to me again, they'll come and find me. Turns out not entirely true. The second I started actually just making a note to myself of, I had a conversation with Susie and she was interested in this particular product, but she decided for whatever reason at this point, not the right time. Make a note to myself, schedule a little follow-up in 2 weeks' time. It pops up on my screen. I go, oh, follow up with Susie. Oh yeah, no, great. Thanks for getting in touch with me. I've been meaning to get in touch with you for a while, but I keep forgetting, life gets in the way, blah, blah, blah. I'd love to come and buy your thing, work with you, all those kind of things. It's just unbelievable the difference that makes. So however simple that can be, you don't need to go out and buy, HubSpot or whatever CRM system is flavor of the day on YouTube this week. Just have a simple process. However that works best for you. At your level, again, it depends on the level you're at. Maybe you need HubSpot for the number of leads and conversations you're having. But have a simple process so that you can make a note, remind yourself what you said, what they were interested in, and when you need to follow up, and just do it. It's as simple as that. And if you have those processes in place, guaranteed you're going to get more sales, you're going to get more clients.
Okay, so let's talk life lessons, right? So we all have those life lessons. Some people call them failures. Some people call them challenges. I call them life lessons. So what's been one of your biggest failures, and then what did you learn from it? What was like the biggest aha from it?
That's a really difficult question. I would say probably one of the biggest ones is not leaping when I knew I should have done. I got involved in a partnership with some people, and I like those people. I'd known them for some years, and I stuck around in that business for way longer than I should have done because I didn't want to let them down. And I knew I didn't want to be doing it. It wasn't my thing, but I knew them. And there was 3 of us in the business at the time. There was 5 of us, but there's 3 partners in the business. And I knew that me going, or I felt that me going, would leave them in the lurch. And I didn't say anything and I didn't do anything until it got to the point where I resented that business and them quite a bit. And eventually I did leave, and it turns out it was all fine. The world didn't end. But yeah, I really feel that there was 2, maybe 3 years there that I gave to a business that I really should have walked away from, should have listened to my gut, should have gone and done the thing that I wanted to do, and understood that it wasn't selfish, because I think that's what it was. I felt it was a very selfish thing to do. I was like, no, I committed to these people to start this business, and what I should have done was just go, actually, I'm not enjoying this anymore, for whatever reason it was. Either what can we do about it, or, is it okay if I step back and go do something else? And I think if I'd done that 3 years earlier, I'd have been so much further forward in a lot of other things that I'd done. I'd probably have been a lot happier for those 3 years than I was. So one of the big things I would say is, if something feels wrong in business, or you have a passion, a desire to do something else, make sure, if you're not doing it, make sure you're not doing it for the right reasons, and really check in with yourself. Be willing to be selfish. It's probably not selfish, but you've only got so much time on this planet. Do the thing that's right for you. If it feels passionate, if it feels crazy to someone else, but the right thing for you to do, do not be afraid to take that leap, because I truly believe I'd rather regret something that I did than something that I didn't do.
Oh, speak my language, man. It was only 3 years. I stayed 7 years too long. So I just want to say that I don't give up. I just no, I committed on my word. I'm suffer.
Carry the cross on my back. No.
Exactly. Ooh, and so Oprah always says, they said, what would you do differently looking back? And she said, I would listen to the whisper before it became a tsunami. Right. Ooh, and so
that's good.
You listened, you were maybe not the whisper, you were at the knock. I was at the tsunami going, I am done. I've given my heart and soul, and that's never a good place to leave when you're in that space. No. So Adam, I love our conversation. I could just go on and on. What's the one thing in your life you want to be remembered for?
Oh, wow. Gosh. Threw that one at me. That's a question and a half. Do you know what? That is a really difficult question to answer. I think almost without sounding trite with the response, I think I want to be remembered for helping people. I genuinely would like to know that there are people in the world that are absolutely better off because of something I created. I think genuinely, I suppose people call it legacy, but I'd love to think that there was something I created that I can even leave behind after me that continues to help people. And I mean, I'd love it to be some like amazing piece of art or something truly inspiring like that. I know it's probably going to be, the Adams way of pricing treatments for maximum profit, which is not remotely sexy, but if
but
that's
it's profound. We can change our children's life, their children's children, right? Your own life to go. That's a legacy play, right? We get that one thing.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, I don't get me wrong. I love money. I love having money. But the emails that I get from someone who, has started out on their business and, maybe is supporting a child or something like that. And they send me an email saying, do you know what, for the first time, I've hit my sales figures. I had one the other day from someone and it just really touched me. It was someone. So when we're recording this, it's in December. And they sent me a message saying for the first year this year, I can buy my child, she was a single mum, I can buy my child the Christmas present she wants because of how you helped me in this business. And I was like, I did it. That all day long.
All day long. So, I'm with you. I'm with you. Right. And the only way that we can keep doing that is by charging what we're worth. I just want to add that little caveat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so do you have a favorite app or a software that you use in your business that you cannot live without?
Yeah, lots of them. They're probably, good question. The one that I use every single day has got to be my email and automation software, which is called ActiveCampaign, which a lot of people will have heard of. I'll be totally honest, it is not the best email software in terms of its editor. The editor's a bit clunky, but in automation wise, massive time saver. I barely send an email myself now. Everything runs through there. So we've automated so much stuff and it just saves a bucket load of time for me and offers a better service as well, because when someone clicks on a thing that I've created, they get it straight away rather than having to wait for me. So I would say probably ActiveCampaign is where I spend the vast majority of my time in terms of a piece of software.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so Adam, how do people get a hold of you? How can we keep in touch with you? Let us know. How do we follow you?
You can stalk me very easily on most of the social media profiles. I'm at Beauty Business Secrets definitely on Facebook and on Instagram. I think on LinkedIn, I'm Adam Chatterley, and on Pinterest, we are Beauty Business Secrets as well. So type that in anywhere, you're going to find me. The podcast is the only thing that we decided to call something different, which is annoying, which is Beauty Business, the Beauty Business Podcast. And you can find that in all good podcast applications and a few bad ones as well. But mainly on, Apple, Spotify, Google, all of those. You can't move for finding that. And obviously with a slightly unusual name like Chatterley, you can pretty much type that in anywhere and you'll find me somehow. So you can find me that way.
I love it. Adam, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And you have a way that we can play with you. So I know we talked about that before in the green room, right? So you want to go to your website, and how do we take advantage of that?
Yeah, so what I've decided to do for you, Susie, is I'm going to make one of my workshops free for you guys. May have come across, I don't believe in doing discounts. I feel my prices are amazing value already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you one of my workshops for free. And it's one that we did recently that people seem to love. And it's the slightly underrated title of How to Earn Whatever You Want. And it genuinely is, it's a 15-minute workshop and I will teach you how to earn whatever you want in there. All you need to do is go to beautybusinesssecrets.co. That's on purpose. beautybusinesssecrets.co/Susie, and you'll find that there. And we'll put a few of the links and bits and pieces of goodies in there too for you.
Awesome. And I'll also be in the show notes. Adam, thank you so much. If you love this episode, which I don't know how you could not love this episode, please like this episode, and more importantly, share it with somebody to make a difference, right? Our goal is you're in business for yourself, not by yourself. Right. I bring you my badass friends that are making a profound difference in the world to help you grow your business, grow your influence, and make a bigger impact in the world. I'm your partner in your business. I'm Susie Carder, your profit coach, and my guest, Adam. Thank you so much for your time, your generosity of your knowledge and your expertise. And we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Power Your Profits podcast. Let these building blocks from today's most successful industry leaders equip you with the necessary resources and tools to finally establish the highly profitable business of your dreams. Want to hear more? Listen to more episodes at https://poweryourprofitspodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. Now is your time to rise to the top of your game, so be sure to catch our next episode. Until next time.